Hello, my name is Alexander Hayslip. I go by Alex, and the first thing about learning about globalization is to get the facts. The first fact that we need to know is, what is globalization? From what I knew before, globalization to me was how civilizations expanded and kept growing economically, and how they grew in intelligence. From some research, it describes globalization as an integration of countries and people of the world. Expanding on that, we can come to the conclusion that globalization is how civilizations innovate and spread knowledge to other civilizations. For example, the Roman Empire created water ducts, which led water to the city and provided for the community. After that, other countries started using it, and we still use water ducts to this day. In my opinion, the future of globalization revolves around technology. With how fast some people are innovating tech, it is a sure thing that globalization will never fail unless there are no people left to do it, because it's just our natural instinct to globalize and spread information. If you look at society today, you can see where globalization has led us, and you can get a glimpse to where it is leading us. A lot of people say that globalization is bad because it can cause inequality from the more educated people to the less educated people. Globalization is also good to a lot of people because it can innovate everything, which results in the price of goods and services being lower because innovation decreases the cost of manufacturing of the goods, which also makes services cheaper as well. In my opinion, there is no possible way to stop globalization from happening. With that being said, I think that globalization is a good thing because there's so many upsides to it. And in my own personal experience, I've experienced globalization through my stepdad. He was a pipeliner, and expansion or globalization took him to the pipeline in a whole different country for work. To me, that is globalization because it provides jobs around the world for many, many people. Also is the downsides that come from globalization, and the first one is the thought of inequality from the more educated people to the less educated people. I believe this is true because it can also affect unskilled workers in the different industries, which would make their income much, much less than what it normally is. I also think that globalization can be bad because if we innovate too much, it can cause less jobs that are needed for different occupations by creating robots or whatnot all around the world. A downside to this happening right now is the war in Ukraine, which is ripping the world apart economically by raising interest rates in all of the countries that are surrounding. The future of globalization can't be determined whether it is good or bad because we have no idea what's going to happen. But we can see that small glimpse of what is to come in the future and what we need to look out for. It all just depends on how we manage the level of globalization that we are at now. With how globalization affects the economy, it could keep driving the economy up and create tons of jobs worldwide. With the innovation of technology, they are keeping the world very interconnected through advancements in communication and transportation. Globalization also brings out different cultures, mostly through travel to other countries or even just watching videos of that culture online. With all of that, I myself have still decided to stick with globalization because the only downsides that I can really see in the future is that this war in Ukraine and Russia enrages in a flame that might spread to many other countries that surround them. But war does bring large economic growth, even though it will make other economic problems worse than what they already are. Globalization is a different point of view, which suggests that barriers to market integration at borders are high, but not high enough to enclose each country from each other fully. Total globalization would lead to treating every country as a different market. The same goes for total isolation, where each country would still be its own market, but for every necessity that they needed in that country. Total isolation would be a cool thing to experience, but I don't think that it will ever be possible for most large countries like the United States. Total globalization is definitely a possibility, but it would take a lot to get there in the future. And we are already a very globalized world, and more might just send us to the brink of destruction. With all of that being said, my opinion still stays the same. I do believe that globalization is a good thing, and I do see a lot of good coming from globalization in the future. So I leave this with you. What's your opinion on the future of globalization, and do you see it as a good or a bad thing?